Field of 68 after dark.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Field of 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM, alongside Rob Dauster and Mike LaTulip. Smile on Dauster's face, rightfully so. Maybe a little bit of a frown on Tulip's face. We'll get to that in just a second, guys. Happy belated Thanksgiving to all. Dauster, what was the Thanksgiving like in the Dauster household?
It was crowded. There was a lot of people here. I smoked a 22-pound turkey, and we went to town on that thing. Mashed potatoes were a solid B+. You know, the stuffing wasn't the best stuffing I've ever had, but it was good enough. It got the job done. And, you know, there was a lot of bourbon and a lot of beer. And that's probably what the most important part of Thanksgiving is, right?
Yeah. LaTulip, anything to share?
Not much, other than learned what tryptophan was, thanks to Rob a few days before experiencing it myself firsthand.
Yeah.
We're more of a ham family. That we have turkey, but we're more of a ham family than we are turkey. Just mixing some syrup in there. We may be off the beaten path a little bit there, but you're making a face, Rob. Don't like that?
Ham with syrup? Is that what you just said?
Try it.
Yeah.
Is that like a normal thing? People do that?
I doubt it. No, highly doubt it. Highly doubt it's normal, but it's been a staple in the LaTulip household for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard
Makes
about
sense
it.
now that you
I've
don't
heard
know what
about it.
tryptophan is. Like you know what ham with syrup is, and you don't know what tryptophan is. And all of a sudden these dots are starting to connect for me, Mike.
Yeah. Nothing to say. No day. By the way, no tryptophan, no problem for the UConn Huskies today, as they remain the thorn in the side of the Fighting LaTulip's fourth straight win over Illinois for UConn. Final score from the Garden: Huskies 74, Illini 61. Little shot clock controversy in the final minutes there in Storrs South. We'll get to that in just a second as well. Let's start on the winning side. Dauster, you were there in-house watching the Huskies dropped 10 threes in the world's maybe most objectionable floor that I think I've ever seen put at MSG. But nevertheless, what was your reaction to the win?
I thought that the first probably 16 minutes of that game was about as good as UConn is going to play. You know, I thought that solo ball really got it going a little bit. Silas Demery was kind of able to get to the rim and create off the bounce. And to me, you know, we've seen Terrace Reed have some big blow-up games, and we know what Alex Karaban can be as a player and the connective piece. And I thought we can kind of get into this today, but I thought that today was a perfect example of what makes him such a useful and effective kind of rotation player and you know, fourth or fifth starter for a team like UConn. But I thought we saw how good they can be at the start of this game when the threes were going down, when they were able to get out in transition, when they were forcing some of those turnovers. You know, I think at this point, that is kind of the difference right now between where UConn can be and where UConn is. It's the fact that Solo is still shooting under 25% from three, and Silas Demery had moments in the BYU game, but has yet to really kind of look like the guy that we thought was going to come in and be one of the most impactful transfers in the country. That's the next step. They're healthy now. Well, mostly healthy. Paris Reed and Braylon both had a minutes restriction tonight, but once those two guys get going, the next step for this team is to get arguably their two best players, Solo Ball and Silas Demery, playing like their two best players.
Go ahead, LaTulip.
Yeah, I think on the Illinois side, what frustrates me, and Rob touched on it, just the beginning of that game, and Rob and I theorized what the matchups were going to be heading into this game. I just felt like
we weren't
asking
even close.
A lot of. Well, they all happened at some point during the game. It was just they didn't start that way. But Mirkovic, that's a lot to ask for him to match up with Karaban. And it's not just we talked about this previously, Rob, but it's not just about, hey, it's a tough matchup because he'll give you 25. It's what he means in that offense to UConn, and how if you don't have that spot figured out, it can collapse the rest of it. And so I just felt like with Solo Ball struggling coming in this game, shooting the ball, and with how important of a piece Karaban is, you bust a switch early for a Karaban three to make it, I think, 6-2. And then Solo Ball hits the first three of the game. Kylan Boswell's guarding him off ball. And once Solo gets into that painted area, you have to get attached. Because if he gets anywhere under the basket, he's coming back off. You know that, Rob, and you know that too, Sam. So Kylan gives too much space there to Solo, and he's able to come off inside foot and knocked down a three. But the other part that was frustrating me defensively for Illinois was it's a tall task, right? Guarding Karaban, guarding Ball, especially when they're coming off those curl cuts, those away screens that coming back towards the ball. So the help that actually needs to come is not from the big man retreating in the paint. It's not from the guy chasing over the top. It's from the guy in the next to the ball gap. Stojakovic, it happened once. Boswell, it happened up top. But when that guy makes that entry pass from the top of the key to the guy curling off, you have to jump to the ball. If you don't jump to the ball, now Karaban and Ball can come off with kind of unabated and get into that shot in rhythm. And I thought there were a couple times throughout the games where they did do that and took it away from UConn. But letting those two guys get confident early, that's everything for UConn. And I thought it helped them on obviously offensively, but it gives you confidence defensively. We'll get into rotations and all that stuff, but I just thought some of those miscues early set the tone for Illinois on that end.
It was the Karaban matchup to me. And what makes it so difficult, and we talked about this on Top Dogs LaTulip, but I want to elaborate on here because I think he is what makes guarding them so problematic, because he can he can hold his own kind of playing as a four, right? And I thought he did a pretty good job against Mirkovic in the post. Mirkovic got on the offensive glass a couple times. You give that up a little bit because you make a four-man have to chase him around, right? And if you don't have the four-man guarding Alex Karaban, when Braylon Mullins comes back, you're going to have a four-man guarding Braylon Mullins, which is even worse matchup. So he's able to run off those screens. He's able to come off those curls. He's able to, come off of some of these DHOs and get into the paint and snake dribble it and be able to play 2-on-1 as almost like fundamentally a point guard coming off of those screens. And when you have a guy like Mirkovic guarding him there, one, Mirkovic is a freshman. Two, he is 6'8", 250. He's not built to be chasing people around screens like that. And that's why they are so difficult to guard, because they make you match up with them. I think the way that you take advantage, and I've said this before, the way you take advantage of UConn is you got to have someone like a Bryce Hopkins or a Koa Pete at the 4 spot that is able to run around a little bit with Karaban, but can also get in there and just be really, really physical and go through his chest from the perimeter, right? Those big, powerful guys that are the combo forwards are the ones that really give him the most trouble. And I don't think Mirkovic did that. And that's part of why UConn was able to win this game. And it wasn't just, he shot 4 for 10, he had 12 points, but he had 5 assists. It was the way that he was able to kind of get a foot in the paint and find somebody else, kick it out, spray it out. Getting him going really early in that game was something where it makes UConn's offense click. I think you can see a direct line, like where it goes from how effective Karaban is running the offense to how good UConn's offense looks. Like that is how you know if they're playing well, is if Alex Karaban is playing well.
Well, I think the other thing too, I was just going to say the other thing too with Karaban is he's not a guy that when he comes off a screen, he's going to get downhill and like combo dribble. You cut him off, he dribbles through his legs, gets back to the front of the rim. But what he can do in a straight line is keep you behind him, keep you on his back, and get that like hostage dribble. He can do that too. And so it puts the big in trouble if you're going to retreat and play off and play like drop coverage when he comes off that curl cut. He's a good enough passer to where I mentioned the jumping the ball. There was one time Illinois did it and they threw it right back to Malachi Smith for a 3. When Kylan was trying to play good defense and jump to the ball, Karaban just took one dribble, threw it right across to Malachi, and he hits one. And that's, again, like that is what UConn makes you pay more than any team in America for defensive miscues. You can talk about all these Purdue, all these different teams in America. UConn, because of the way they're structured and because of the type of offense that they run, and Karaban being the kind of the through line through all of it, is what makes them so difficult. So I thought his impact, he had the 3 blocks. They tried to challenge him at the rim a couple times and he held up. I just felt like with Mirkovic, you talked about that matchup, but they doubled the post a few times and Illinois got kickouts and straight line drives because they weren't just letting Karaban play straight up down there the whole time. So I thought they went away from that. I thought Mirkovic took some ill-advised threes early in the clock. And that's just, in addition to the defense that I'm talking about for Illinois, you can't also go, whatever they ended up 6 of 29 from 3 and expect to beat UConn. And I don't think that Illinois took advantage end of first half, those final 6 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes of the first half, the first probably 3 to 4 minutes of the second half. And then even when they tried to fight back, you can't let a team jump on you that many times in a game and then you get the call, the controversial call. Not to say that they like didn't deserve that call, but you shouldn't be in that situation to have to rely on that type of call, even though in my opinion, it was a horrible call, even after the review, unbiased, of course, but just a lot there. I think Illinois needs to figure out from a rotation standpoint, from a continuity standpoint. Mullins and Reed coming back, they weren't, they didn't have the production today, but you can see those guys coming back. They don't rock the boat in terms of integration. Like they don't rock the boat in terms of like, oh man, we got to bring Terrace Reed back in, and he's just a high usage guy. Braylon Mullins is a high usage guy. Petrovic and Stojakovic coming back in for Illinois in the past couple games, that's a lot to adjust to because those guys play a certain way, especially offensively. So those are the kinks Illinois has to work out here moving forward.
Rob, if I said to you yesterday during your Thanksgiving dinner, you're sitting down eating the smoked turkey, having some bourbon, UConn would be up 9 at the half, but Demery wouldn't score or have an assist in the second. Solo Ball would go 1 for 6 in the final 20, which is 2 points. Braylon Mullins and Terrace Reed would combine for 4 points for the entire game. I would venture to guess that you would have had some concerns there, but the depth for this team came out to play today. 31 points from the bench for UConn, 11 points on the other side. That was another kind of staggering difference or discrepancy within the game. Like how crucial is that going to be for UConn going forward to be able to go to that depth? Because as you well know, injuries pile up as the season goes along.
Yeah, Mally's world, man. Malachi Smith was sensational tonight. He's been really, really good in UConn's big games. He is kind of like your ideal backup point guard because I think that he's been through enough in college basketball where he's not concerned with proving how good he is at this point. He just wants to go out there and win. When you've had the injuries that he's dealt with throughout his career and some of the losses that he's dealt with throughout his career, at some point, you just want to be on a team that's going to be able to make a run in March and put you in a situation where you have a chance to be able to win some stuff and maybe experience something you wouldn't be experienced otherwise. 14 points, 9 assists, just 1 turnover. They kind of did something unique in the second half, Mike, where they put Ben Rickhouse on Malachi Smith and they tried to match up small for small and size for size with UConn. And I think that's kind of where he was able to take advantage of it. And, he got a couple paint touches. He was able to create some shots out of that. But having that impact player off the bench, they probably legitimately go 9 deep, UConn does this year. And that's about what you want. And when you have guys that are not concerned, even veterans like Jalen Stewart and Jaden Ross I don't want to say they're happy with the roles that they have, but they are willing to make the sacrifices to be able to win for the roles that they have. And when you have 2 guys like that, and when you have Malachi Smith, and I'll tell you what, Eric Ryba, I was really worried about him during his senior season in high school because he did not have a great senior year playing high school ball. And there was some kind of scuttle out there that maybe he's going to end up doing what Darius Adams did and decommitting and trying to find someplace else to play. But he had a great summer playing with the German U19 team. And he came in and his impact, it's those 2 guys, right? Like the lack of a point guard last year. And now you have 2 guys when Silas isn't playing well that can go out and win a game for you. And the fact that Terrace Reed can play 15 minutes in a game and you still get, 8.7 boards from Ryba. I think he had 3 blocks and just another 7-footer that's not going to get bullied. You're right, Sam. It's the depth of this group reminds me a lot of that 2023 team.
Agreed. LaTulip, I do want to read to you here, and then we can get to the interview Rob caught up with Danny Hurley at the Garden. We'll get to that in just a second. But you guys also mentioned this in Top Dogs. This Illinois team had out-rebounded everybody that they have played up until this point. Wasn't a huge discrepancy in this game, but it was enough to let the Huskies recycle it and get a couple second chance points. If you could pinpoint kind of a facet of this game for Illinois that was the biggest reason that they fell today and maybe the biggest concern going forward that you have, what would that be?
I think I tie it all back to the continuity that they're searching for with the rotations. Because I think right now you have too much volatility with the different lineups that you have, meaning, hey, here's this lineup that gives us a little bit offensively. but it's poor defensively. Or, hey, here's this lineup like they had at the end of the first half when they put in Brandon Lee, when they put in Zavonimir, when they put in Ben Rickhouse, and they stabilized things defensively, but you couldn't gain enough room or you couldn't get enough back offensively. So it just felt like every time you looked up, it's like it's still between 9 and 11. It's still between 9 and 11. And I think that's where this Illinois team is going to need to grow, is finding that and maybe leaning one way or the other. But I also look at, Andrei Stojakovic, and this is where I think, and I don't necessarily mean this literally, but like this is where the games where he kind of has to make his money, meaning like Texas Tech and Alabama, two teams that are going to switch, two teams that are going to allow you to play the matchup hunting game. They're going to allow you to isolate. And when you get into games against a UConn who wants to pack the paint a little bit more, who wants to clog gaps a little bit more, who wants to send another body at you when you drive and then help off of that, can you still be effective? And that's my challenge, I guess, to Andrei Stojakovic, just saying, well, if you can't get it on straight line drives like you did against Texas Tech and Alabama, can you get more in transition? Can you get more in secondary transition when matchups aren't perfect? Now you can attack early. Can you get more back on the offensive glass at 6'7" and springy and mobile? And can you get a couple more buckets that way? Can you get more extra opportunities for your teammates that way? And I think all of that, to me, ties back to the defense, because you can't get out and run like that if you don't get consistent stops. And that's really the issue right now for Illinois. I think you can look at the 6 of 29 shooting it, but I just think in these type of games, it's why Michigan State is Michigan State. It's why they don't need to be anywhere near the top of the Big Ten in 3-point shooting. It's because every single game, they bring their defense and they bring their rebounding. And that has to be the mindset, figuring out a way. And I know it's not the most athletic team, but that's not all what rebounding is. That's not all what defense is. It's good being positionally. It's using your leverage. It's the scouting report. I think there's another play in the second half where Karaban gets a back screen for a layup, and you're sitting there wondering, like, man, how does he just get free for that layup? And then you go and watch it. It's solo ball setting the screen. So yes, it's a challenge because you don't want to help off a solo ball. But Kylan Boswell, instead of giving Ben the room and backing off and letting him get through, he flipped his hips to prepare for the next screen for solo. So there was no one to help Ben Rickhouse on the backside, and it's a Karaban layup. So being sharper with those defensively, that's what it comes down to. The shooting is the shooting. I personally don't believe that you have to be a great shooting team to be a great team. We've seen that proven throughout college basketball, and that just has to be the next step for Illinois, is finding that continuity in the rotations and improving on the defensive end.
Yeah. Seems like, they're just not really good enough on the defensive side right now, that when the offense disappears like it did today, I guess if there was some solace to take away from that game for you, LaTulip, it's that, it wasn't a repeat of that Elite Eight all over again, right? Down by 21 points at this time, and then they brought it back within 7. You mentioned that's when the shot clock thing happened, but yeah, with a trip coming up to Nashville, I believe that's coming up next week, take on a top 20 Tennessee team that just beat Houston. They got some stuff to figure out before next Tuesday. All right, let's go ahead and get to this little quick interview that our man Dauster had with the head man, Danny Hurley.
Now let me welcome onto the field of 68 After Dark, Dan Hurley, fresh off of a 74-61 win over Illinois. Felt good to kind of get this one in the Garden. 18,000 fans here day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was a big win, and just prepare for them, and looking at their team, we knew it'd be a formidable challenge, and I think it's the type of team that you're going to have to beat, in an Elite Eight game, or just with their size, and I think they're going to get a lot better during the course of the year. They got a lot of new pieces and a lot of talented pieces like we do. So I don't think either team was at their best today, but I think it was an important win for us, especially with the stretch of games that we're involved in.
Terrace back. We finally got a chance to see Brandlin playing a real game, right? What was it? How nice is it to be able to have your team at full strength here?
It was nice to just have 15 guys in practice at least the day before. Today's Friday, so they practiced Wednesday, and then we gave them off on Thanksgiving because they needed a little bit just because these guys are dealing with serious things. So they were both at around a 15-minute restriction today. So hopefully when we get to Kansas, that'll jump into the 20s or so.
when Solo Ball and Silas really kind of get going, right? We saw it for about a 12-minute stretch in the first half, and then Solo didn't decide, but he started missing some shots again, and then Silas got in a little bit of foul trouble. What happens with this team when those two get going and playing their best?
Yeah, I just think that Solo is obviously dealing with the mental thing, and he's just in the locker room talking to Ray Allen. I stuck them in a room together, so hopefully that gets rectified there. But yeah, I mean, those guys, Silas, the foul trouble kind of wrecked his game, I thought. But then, Malachi was awesome, and we were all living in Mally's world today, and that was the most fun I've had in that world. So, we got the 2 point guards. So, I think that's the difference with this year's team is the depth we got at that position. And I want to see what we can be when we get, Taris and Braylon really up to speed, because I think it's going to solve a lot of our offensive issues, because we've become a little bit too much like a donut when we don't have the big fella, just a little bit. And I think that affected the quality of the shots that Solo was getting as the game went on.
Bengals won last night. You guys won today. A little bit better this Thanksgiving than last Thanksgiving?
Where was I? Oh, my God. And Bob, I mean, I was so, just the fact that I had to watch Bob and look at that court and watch those rims and the balls bouncing around and going in or not going in and just being brought back to Maui, and Bob almost avenging the family. He did go 2-1, so Bobby's definitely better. But it would have been great if Bob could have gotten the championship and avenged the Hurley name there. The name, bring respect back to the name in Maui, but I thought he had a great trip. But yeah, what a difference a year makes.
We're going to try to make sure that this is the member of the field of 68 that's here from now on at UConn games. You good with that?
Good. Yeah, me and Goodman, right? And we're working on things. I mean, there's been damage that's been done, but I think we could work through it, because I go way back with Jeff. Slam dunk to the beach days, first year. I mean, we go way back. That's why I don't give up on him.
Look, some of us already have, Dan. Appreciate you, man.
So a very happy Danny Hurley after the win there. UConn certainly won the game. They played better for, by and large, a good portion of that game. However, there was a shot clock violation, or a lack thereof, I should say, with the final 2+ minutes of the game. Illinois probably should have had the ball down by 7 with 2:10 left in the game. Instead, Malachi threw up a heave after a Caravan miss that missed the whole rim. They got the offensive rebound. Malachi made and banked in a 3-point play, ended up being a 4-point play because he got fouled on the play. But for the officials to go to the monitor there and not come away with the correct call was baffling, to say the least. But Mike, what did you make of that call? I've never seen something so blatantly clear for an official to go to the table and then come away and say, nope, actually, let's just stick with the original call.
I think two things can be true. It was a horrible review. It absolutely should have been Illinois ball. And I think it's a lot closer than people think. I think it's like probably like 3/4 of a second, or maybe a full second. But it was after the shot clock would have expired for sure. That can be true. And it can also be true that Illinois shouldn't have been in the position to need that. I think there's enough that took place in that game to where you shouldn't have to rely on a call like that. Down 7 with 2:15 left. And who knows? They definitely had all the momentum in that situation. Does it mean they win the game? No. Does it mean they have a better chance? Sure. But I don't understand. The broadcast was saying it. They're like, oh, yeah, this is going to go the other way. I'm looking at Brad Underwood's face. I'm kind of trying to read his body language as he talks to the officials. Seems like everything is trending in the direction of being Illinois ball. And I just think, like, if it's too close or you can't determine it because the shot clock reset, I'd even be fine with UConn ball, 2 seconds left under the basket. Or, hey, they have the possession arrow. We don't know. UConn has the possession arrow. Anything. I mean, that effectively ended the game, and that sucks to see. But if you're Illinois, you don't want to be in that position in the first place to have a call like that. Kind of, you end up ending the game effectively.
Yeah. I mean, to be frank, all I've seen is a clip that our producer Trevor has sent to us, and he is an Illinois fan, and I have don't know whether or not to trust whether or not this is accurate. Whether
there's enough out there. There's enough out there.
He broke it up like this as a Zapruder film. My guess is what happened is the officials went through it and said, all right, when the time changes, it's going to be like 2:13 with 3 seconds, right? So when we get to 2:11, then there's still going to be 1 second left on the shot clock. And they saw that the foul was committed, and you can see Jake Davis reaching in at 2:11, and they're just saying, okay, that's when this was the foul happened. So we're going to keep this continuing. I'm not complaining about it.
Insane.
I'll take it.
Which is insane.
It's what I will say is this. I think that was lucky for UConn. And I also believe that was something where if that goes the other way and that gets flipped, we saw UConn blow. It was 21 and got down to 7 here, right? We saw them against BYU be up by 20, and then BYU had the ball with a chance to tie it late in that game. I am starting to be a little concerned about UConn's ability to close games. It's one thing they do this thing now where like if someone scores, they'll inbound the ball and let it bounce and let it roll because it'll allow the clock to run. And then you pick up the ball and it's run 5 seconds off, and you do that every single time. And eventually you do that for 12 possessions. You knock a minute off the game, right? It's time wasting. It's a classic European thing, especially in European soccer, which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but Hurley and Luke Murray do the VAR symbol instead of the twirl for a review. Like you could tell that all those dudes is EuroLeague. But I am starting to get a little bit worried about their ability to close out games. It feels like they get this big lead, they take their foot off the gas, and they just kind of say, we're going to drain this thing away instead of being aggressive. And I would like to start seeing them put their foot on people's necks here when you have a chance to be able to put something away. But a win is a win. I'm not gonna pretend like it's a bad win. So they're in a really good spot right here, and I'm feeling good about this program, man. And honestly, I would feel really good about where Illinois is right now too. My gut says the threes that they got and the shots that they got for the most part were the shots that they wanted in that game, Mike. And you could tell me if I'm completely wrong, but I think they more or less got what they wanted offensively, and those shots didn't go down. And that's just something that's going to happen in college basketball games.
Yeah, I think so. And last point I'll make too is to UConn's late game offense. Illinois made that run when they started. And this is like a question for Illinois defensively. If you're a little bit overmatched from an athleticism standpoint, do you just start running and jumping a little bit? Is the conservative defense of drop coverage just a little too conservative for this personnel grouping? Because when they came back was when Petrovic was in the game, and I have questions about Petrovic defensively, but is he a little bit better on the floor defensively when you just kind of run and jump and create a little bit of havoc? I thought UConn rushed shots in that time frame of the game more than they had in previous parts of the game. But I also think for UConn's late game offense, like how many real matchup winners do they have where when in late game offense things get more simplified, they don't get more complicated. So when you run very like long form offense like UConn does, Kentucky had this issue last year, and actually it hurt them climbing back into games when they got down. So I'd be curious in a situation for UConn, if they get down, does this rear its head?
They did
struggle to climb back.
They did. They were able to come back against Arizona. What I'll say is, I think this changes once Terrace Reed is healthy and you can throw the ball into the big fella and not have to worry about anything. Yeah. And two, like once Silas Demery figures out when and where and how he's supposed to attack, because he still looks like we've seen it in flashes. We haven't seen him be the best version of himself yet. So.
All right. UConn, one of 5 teams in the country that has multiple wins against top 15 teams this year. BYU, now Illinois. We'll step aside, take a short break here. We have had a heck of a feast week this week. Some high-level basketball across the country. Duke and Arkansas and Chicago last night. Sparty with another statement win over North Carolina as well down to Fort Myers. We will dissect each one of those on the other side.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app, you sign up using bonus code FIELD, you deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. With media days and on-site events the last 2 months, travel for me has been crazy. Luckily, I had Huel. This month, Huel launched in Target stores nationwide. Both of their ready-to-drink products are now available. The Black Edition has 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners, and is gluten-free for under $5 a meal. The Daily Greens Edition, which I have here, peach hibiscus flavored, was developed by registered nutritionists and dietitians with 42 vitamins and minerals and superfoods, with just 25 calories, 4 grams of fiber, and only 1 gram of sugar. When you're busy with work, travel, children, and just life in general, Huel makes sneaking in meals quick, easy, and most importantly, healthy. Pick them up in Target stores nationwide, or if you're a first-time customer, get 15% off your purchase with the promo code F68 at Huel. That's HUEL.com/F68.
Back here on Field of 68 after dark, Thanksgiving edition, post-Thanksgiving edition. Rob Dauster, Mike LaTulip. I'm Sam Ravech with you. All across the country last night, guys, families gathered in front of their TVs and they watched football, yes, but they also watched the Duke Blue Devils feast on Arkansas. What a physical battle that was in the United Center between these two. Blue Devils came away with the win, 80-71. They were ice cold to start this game. I think they missed like 9 of their first 10 shots before Cam Boozer kind of stole the show the rest of the way. 35 points for the young man, 9 boards. First freshman in program history with multiple 35-point games. 10 minutes left in the game. Duke was down. They were down 7. Then they went on a 27-11 run to close it out. Boozer scored 14 of those 27. LaTulip, I'll come to you first on here. Do you think that Boozer kind of catapulted himself in front of everyone else that is up for Player of the Year right now with that performance and really what he's done since the start of the season?
I think so. I think you see his impact on winning, period. That's the first thing that stands out with Cam Boozer. I think, honestly, between the Texas game and the Kansas game and then this game, you were actually looking for him to be efficient in a game against a high major opponent. And my God, did he do that in this game. And I loved what John Shire's been able to do with him. That Texas game was a little bit unique. I thought they had him isolate a little bit more in that game than I think he was comfortable with. Texas really clogged gaps on him. And then they started to move him around a little bit more, get him on back screens, flow into the basket, just get him on the move more. And even in the Kansas game, same type of thing. And Kansas actually did a really good job taking away the short rolls. They had Badunga, or they had somebody loading up in the lane to dissuade that pass back to Boozer. Arkansas just let him have it last night. And to me, it was very reminiscent of what Koa Pete did to Florida, where it's like, we're going to play drop coverage and we're going to throw that pocket pass, and we're going to let you get head full steam downhill and win the angles matchup. But they got him on the move in the short rolls. They got him on the move, flowing to the corner with the 3 they hit in the corner in the first half. He had the dunk on the secondary transition where he just could catch and rip. Getting him playing in space is what unlocks Cam Boozer. I mean, he can play in close quarters because he has passing ability, but offensively, he really gets unlocked when he can move around. And that was very emblematic of I think what we've envisioned for Cam, but the facilitating and how he hurts you on those short rolls because you're scared to help in from the opposite corner. Duke's shooting 47% from 3 and from the corners this year. So think about what he's doing and how it impacts the defense, the decision you have to make to help or stay in the corner. That all obviously helps Cam Boozer, and Cam Boozer helps the Duke Blue Devils. That's for damn sure.
So are you telling me, Mike, that a John Calipari coach team struggle to guard ball screens and that cost them a win. That's never happened before since we've been doing this. Look, there was a narrative out there that was starting to formulate that because Cam Boozer only had 18, 11, and 5 assists against Kansas, and because he was just okay against Tennessee, and because he was like a mere mortal in the scrimmage that they played, that this dude was overrated and he couldn't deal with length and he shouldn't be in the Player of the Year conversation. And the idea of even considering him for the number 1 pick would be insanity. And he shut a lot of people up last night with that performance that he had. As good as he was, I think what won that game was Caleb Foster because of his ability to kind of operate as a point guard. He finished with 15 points. He had 8 assists. He had a couple of like horrible turnovers, right? Like there was a stretch there where he had like 3 in a row and it was just like, dude, I think it was right at the start of the second half. Like, did you go eat some turkey and get some tryptophan in the system at halftime? Like what just happened there? But I thought overall, his ability to kind of control that game and create and make some open shots, fantastic. And it was good to see him get a chance to get that going a little bit. Like, this is a kid that came in as a McDonald's All-American and had to make a sacrifice as a freshman, sacrifice his potential starting role last season. And this year, he's even been dealing with, is Caden Boozer better? Should Caden Boozer be playing more minutes? So to see him be able to have this moment in a setting like that, in a situation like that, I think was really, really good for him and really, really good for, like, that is how Duke hits their ceiling. If you can get some kind of elite point guard play, so it's not just give the ball to Cam Boozer and let him create, it's you got other guys out there that can be a threat and can be capable of creating a shot for somebody else. That's how this Duke team gets from being like really, really good to, okay, we got to put them in the Michigan, Purdue, Arizona, UConn, and maybe Louisville kind of a tier.
Yeah, I mean, from a Duke perspective, it was good to see them get knocked down and then, get punched in the mouth a little bit and then respond. Felt like a huge confidence booster game for guys like Foster, despite the turnovers, and Gongba as well. On the Arkansas side of things, there's not a lot of times, guys, and you know this, being former players, there's not a lot of times where like a loss teaches you more than a win. But I think Arkansas maybe left Chicago with at least a better idea of where they stand. They showed long stretches of poise there, trailed by 12 at one point, and then led by 7 too. Coach Cal said they were more connected in this game than they had been this season. Rebounding was a huge problem in this game as well. I think Duke was like +8 on the boards or something like that, 12 offensive rebounds in this game as well, which didn't help them. But the fact they were able to kind of hold serve there and deal with some of the length and physicality that Duke has on the perimeter, I think showed me something, LaTulip. What do you make of Arkansas and then putting up a fight in this game, as well as their perspective going forward? By the way, we talk a lot about like the freshmen this year, Caleb, Wilson, Debanza, the Boozers, of course. But how about Darius Acuff? How about Malik Thomas? I mean, they showed me something in this game.
They did. And I think what you can come out of this looking at, if you're Cal, is he's just wanted, especially, I'll even start with the bigs. I mean, the reason why Ewan in particular, I think Cal's been on Ewan. He wants to get more out of him defensively because he knows if he can get more out of him defensively, then they can play a little bit differently offensively. But Cal's talking about them being connected. They're connected through their effort for large stretches of this game. And I think that's where Arkansas wins this year, is just through the havoc that they create. I mean, they have to be, it's kind of reminiscent of some of the Cal Memphis teams where it's just an onslaught of like Billy Richmond and getting into you, turning you over, playing fast, getting out on the break. And then I think the challenge for this Arkansas team is like the time and situation, the time and score where things have to, I think about like with a quarterback, it's like you can throw the deep ball, you can maybe scramble with the ball, but can you make those like layered throws? And that's just the best way I can describe it with Arkansas, is like making the layered throws in like that 8-yard little late game where, you maybe have to settle in and get a really good offensive possession in the half court. It's not just full steam, get downhill, fast break, early ball screen, dribble drive. Like can Darius Acuff and some of these other guys, and DJ Wagner, can they really set the table in big moments? Because that's where you see some of these teams where like they're so good in the first 35 minutes of the game, and then things get kind of bogged down when you really have to get very quality possessions. And I keep going back to it. They have 2 freshmen that are their highest usage players. And they're the only team that can say that in the top 40 on KenPom. And that's a challenge. And that's going to come with natural growing pains. So I just want to see them continue to evolve, especially in those first half situations and late game situations. And if they can turn that corner, you're talking about not only just an NCAA tournament team, but I think a team that can win multiple games in the tournament.
Yeah, and they got to get more out of their front court, man. Like you can't – you got, 40 minutes combined out of Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan, and I think there were 4 rebounds all told between the 2 of them. That can't happen. Like those guys have to provide you some level of production. And Cal talked about this in the preseason, right? And you're not getting it here. One thing that I'm kind of like #noticing with this group, and I don't know if it's a thing yet, but I'm kind of noticing it. DJ Wagner played 16 minutes. It wasn't in foul trouble. It wasn't like he had a boatload of turnovers. Played 16 minutes. I think moving forward, the best lineup this team can put out there is going to be with Acuff and with Malik Thomas, because I just think that the way that this team is built, like you said, Mike, you need a couple guys that can go out there and create something out of nothing, and that's not what DJ is. And I wonder how that is going to be received if the guy that was supposed to be your leader, that you brought to media day, that is the veteran that's been with Cal for now 3 seasons, how is he going to respond if he ends up seeing some of his minutes and some of the crunch time, important playing time minutes go to these other freshmen? That's going to be something that Cal kind of has to manage.
And that's exactly, and I had mentioned it on a previous talking about Arkansas earlier in the season, the chemistry and the psychological aspect of Carter Knox returning, of DJ Wagner returning. And in your mind, I don't care, even if you think you have highly touted, this is just how a lot of these guys operate because they're very confident individuals. Even if you have highly touted freshmen coming in, you're still thinking about the best outcome of your role, even without them. And now they come in, they are those highest usage guys. And what type of locker room do you have? Because I can tell you, I've been on teams where there were upperclassmen or even guys that were sophomores that it took an adjustment period to get used to younger guys, to freshmen being those go-to guys, being the high volume guys. But I do think it's one of the biggest things I circled before the season, watching Malik Thomas, watching his high school stuff, was like, Cal's got to cut him loose. You're like the best outcome you're going to get from Malik Thomas is a cut loose Malik Thomas.
Yes.
And so that's going to come with somebody's going to be a casualty there for minutes, whether it's Carter Knox, whether it's DJ Wagner. I think Billy Richmond brings you so much defensively. And yes, I think a lot of times he brings you a lot on the glass too, rebounding from that guard wing spot, that he's even tough to take off the floor sometimes. But you're right. Like I think that's hard for some guys to adjust to. And the sooner they adjust to that, I think the better, but it's not easy.
I really think that long-term, the best lineup that you're going to see for this Arkansas team is going to end up being those 2 freshman guards with Brazil, with Billy Richmond, and with one of the bigs out there. Whichever bigs decide that they want to start scoring and start rebounding and start playing some defense, like that'll be the 5 that I think you see Cal end up really riding with here when you get to kind of crunch time minutes.
And I'm not saying Cal, is rooting for one guy or another to emerge, but you talked about #noticing. I'm also noticing Cal was asked a question by Rothstein during that game, during the break, during a timeout. And he was asked a completely separate question, and he interrupted Rothstein and said, "Oh, did you see Malik Ewan's defense, though? You see Malik Ewan's defense?" In a good way. He had great ball pressure. You need ball pressure when Cam Boozer's out there, as a 5 out. He wants Malik Ewan to take that step defensively. Because, as much as Nick Pringle's great, I think more in that,
Ewan's the guy with potential. Ewan averaged 15 and 8 last year in the ACC. He is the guy
he knows
he can go out there and produce. Pringle's just disrespectfully, Nick, if you're listening, he's out there to be a body, right? He's out there to go give you 5 fouls, to be big, be athletic, get some offensive rebounds, and just kind of go run around and be, 6'9" and 230. Whereas Malik Ewan is the guy that we've seen be a 15-point per game scorer in the ACC on a bad team as a big guy. That's not easy to do.
Well, Cal knows you need a post presence. You need some sort of post presence I think, to help Acuff and to help Malik Thomas. So that's so the development of Malik Ewan, I think, is the story, but really a heck of a win from Duke as well to withstand that type of punch, I think, from Arkansas on multiple occasions in that game.
Yeah, no doubt. Duke moves to 8-0 for the first time since 2017. It's early, but there's a chance that the NBA Rookie of the Year and college basketball's Player of the Year could both come from Durham, North Carolina, when you think about it. So Duke returns back to Cameron to face the defending champs Florida in the ACC-SEC Challenge. That's coming up on Tuesday night. The ranked matchups do not stop there, though, for Duke. They will have to see a top 10 Michigan State team just 4 days later inside the Breslin Center. And they're well aware of what Sparty just did to their cross-town rival in UNC. 16-point win for Tom Izzo's squad yesterday. We'll break that one down on the other side of the break.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app. You sign up using bonus code FIELD. You deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. If you're not a member of the Field of 68's On3 community, make sure to go check us out. Get access to all of Jeff Goodman and Rob Dauster's written content, including coaching carousel breakdowns, info on who is and isn't entering the transfer portal, insider recruiting information from none other than Joe Tipton, X's and O's analysis of all the teams in college basketball, and access to our message board community. A 7-day trial costs you $1. The Field of 68 on 3. Get the scoop.
Back here on Field of 68 after dark, we will get into this Michigan State and North Carolina game in just a second. By the way, for those who are riding along with us in the YouTube, please hit us in the comments. We will try to get to a couple of your questions, concerns in the afters here in just a short bit. But Dauster, Tom Izzo said that he was going to hold off on the praise regarding the improvement of Jeremy Fears Jr. until he saw him against some of the tougher opponents that they played, like Kentucky and UNC. Well, Spartans have passed the test with flying colors. Yeah, passed with flying colors. I mean, there was, Tom was even drawing comparisons to Jeremy Fears Jr. and Mateen Cleaves. And we know how much Mateen means to Tom Izzo. So for him to take that step and make that comparison says a lot. But what'd you make of Sparty's win over the Heels yesterday?
Well, look, one, I'm starting to believe that Michigan State is even at 11 might be a little bit underranked right now because of what they get out of their bigs, because of how good Jeremy Fears is at setting it. Like, he does every single thing that you want a point guard to be able to do, and he does it at a very high level. I think that they're getting enough shooting from guys like Kurtang and Trey Fort in minutes that they're able to survive the fact that they are more of a rebound and get out and transition. Cohen Carr is electric. I'm starting to believe that this Michigan State team is let's put it like this. The race for the Big Ten championship between Purdue and Michigan State is going to be so much fun this year. But Mike, I know you love Fears and the stuff that he can do. I think that he ends up being what is the difference maker for this program, because when you are not a great offensive team, and I feel comfortable saying that Michigan State's not a great offensive team, when you have a guy that can get you great shots and easy shots and finishable shots for guys that can finish them, that makes all the difference in the world, especially when you run a lot of the sets that Michigan State runs and can get on transition. He's the quintessential Tom Izzo point guard, and I think he is I'll say this. I think he's the most underrated point guard in college basketball. There's a lot of really good point guards in the sport this year. I don't think he gets anywhere near enough credit for how good he is.
You mentioned underranked. You mentioned underrated for Fears. And to me, that I just keep going back to Michigan State will start getting the respect that they deserve when Jeremy Fears starts getting the respect that he deserves. Because Tom Izzo should get it. Like we should, after seeing what they did in 17-3 in the Big Ten last year, we should have the respect for them now. Because even in this offseason, what did they bring back? They brought back their offensive engine that triggers a lot of their pace in the open floor. They brought back two of their bigs that give them that foundation on the glass, and they're great screeners, and they bury you on rolls. And I just think any forecasting of the Big Ten regular season champion that doesn't include Michigan State at this stage is foolish. And if you want to tell me it's a 2 to 3 horse race up top for the Big Ten, I hesitate to leave Michigan State out of that. I don't know how you could at this stage in the season. But to me, when you talk about Michigan and when you talk about Purdue and this race and how it's going to look, the reason why I have faith in Michigan State is because it's not just about how you match up with those teams when you meet in February, or when you meet in early March, or when you meet in January. Like, hey, when Purdue plays Michigan, and when Michigan plays Michigan State, and when Michigan State plays Purdue, it's how you take care of the bottom of the league. And I trust this Spartan team, just like last year's team, to take care of business on a Saturday in Happy Valley, to take care of business on a Tuesday in Piscataway. That is what wins you the league, because you can tell with this team, they have their standard that they play to, and when they have 2-minute stretches where they don't play to that standard, they fix it immediately. UNC goes up 22-15 in that game. Timeout Michigan State. Unacceptable. Lost a guy in transition twice. Got beat down the floor. Didn't match up in transition. Busted a switch. UNC hits a 3. Timeout. What do they do coming out of it? 13-0 run. And that is why I think for this team and for Jeremy Fears specifically, like Fears, you touched on it, Rob. That's one of the top guards in the country, point guards in the country, period. And he's already an all-league defender, but he keeps taking steps forward offensively to where he can beat any coverage. What I get sick of, and I'm on my soapbox here, but
get on it, Mike. Get on that soapbox. Let them know. These people don't understand how good Jeremy Fears is. Get on that soapbox and let the people know, Mike.
What I get sick of is like, why don't guys just go under on him? Like have some respect for Jeremy Fears. One time. Just have some respect for a really great player. As if one coverage against, you look at guys in the NBA too, like really great players, coverage don't matter. Oh, you want to go under like they did in the second half? I'm going to bury you. The bigs are going to bury you first, but I'm going to get to my spot at 13 to 15 feet and make these pull-up jumpers. Oh, you want to sag off me? I'm 8 for 17 from 3 on the year. Oh, you want to go under? I just hit a 3 for a 4-point play in the second half. And it's just over and over again. Like UNC went over screens early, and he went downhill. I actually thought it was effective at times, but then he started hitting the roller. Okay, now we got to start denying him. And if we deny him, okay, they're going to enter it to the other side of the elbow so that Fears, because you're on the top side denying him, now when they enter it over to the other side, you're on the back side. And he can get a dribble handoff and a flip to him going downhill with nobody on him. And now in the second half, too, they doubled off the post on him. That's when he hit his and 1-3. So I'm sweating talking about it. But it's just they are a lot of what's good about college basketball right now, because they come in, they defend, they're connected, they rebound, they have an identity, they play to a standard, and I love seeing that result in winning, and it has early going. And they should be right up there in the Big Ten race.
You know what else it is too? It's not just Fears. It is the presence of fear out there with Jackson Kohler, who is tough as hell, even though he looks like he's with Carson Cooper, who he is way more bounce, where Cohen Carr can go get it up there. He can kick it back out to Jackson Kohler, who can make a 3 that'll help space the floor. Like, there are ways that they can create spacing because of the skills that these guys have that goes beyond just being able to like being a shooter isn't the only way you can space the floor. And they're able to make that work with the stuff that they run. And their front court, like Cooper and Kohler, man, like I don't know where people would rank them in the best front courts in college basketball. It probably wouldn't be all that high, but the way that those dudes play and the effectiveness that they have, rebounding, blocking shots. And then, oh, by the way, you got Cam Ward, not the quarterback, mind you. You got Cam Ward coming in, and he's capable of giving you 18-9 Arkansas. So I just, all the pieces fit so well for Michigan State. And one thing that I love seeing is Tom Izzo lean into, we're not going into the portal. We're going to keep doing what we do. We'll supplement with pieces here or there. You know, I wish Smart could take a note from Tom Izzo and say, hey, look, you can still build a program and be able to bring in a couple pieces that you need to fill some hole. But they're so good, man. Like they're so what they do. It's not really all that flashy. I'm really in on the Spartans this year.
I thought Shaka would have learned and taken a page of Dabo's book, maybe, and learn. That didn't work at Clemson. Maybe we should try and add a couple of pieces here, real quick, and then get to our toast of the night, Dauster. But I asked this question last week, and we've got a few more data points to kind of back up some arguments. Who's the best team in Michigan right now?
I would say I think Michigan right now is the best team in college basketball. I don't know how you argue against it with what with the fact that Yaxel is able to kind of start knocking down threes, with the effect they have in transition. I really do believe that Michigan is the best team in the sport today. But I said this when I think I said this Wednesday night, Mike. There are 5-6 teams that are probably at the same level as Michigan, right? There are another 10 teams after that are good enough to be able to beat Michigan on a given night. And I think this is the deepest that I've ever seen college ball in terms of really, really good teams. Like last 4 incredible teams, right? And then there was a little bit of a drop off after the top 4, but they were that all rank in the top 10 all time on KenPom in terms of efficiency margin. We have 16 teams, 15 or 16 teams that are all good enough. If I've ever seen the top of the sport that deep before.
You push back, Mike?
It's tough. Yeah, I think it's tough because, I mean, how could you not watch what Michigan did over that 3-game span and not think they're the best just basketball team in the sport with the way that they, you know, I think it was 110 points they outscored their opponents by. And I just think sometimes there's a grain of salt that the MTs, the games in 3 days, like that's sometimes you want to take a grain of salt with that because there's less prep. And I think the less prep, Michigan is going to eat teams alive on that because of the floor that they've been into every game, where they have the size advantage, it's you on the glass. And then if you catch rhythm over a 3-day span of like making shots, knock out shots, that team is going to blast teams. Where I go with Michigan State is like from a body of work standpoint, and I'm referring to last season too, coming into this season. I think I trust Michigan State more at this point to come into a game and play Michigan State's brand of basketball. That's not to say that Michigan won't go further in the tournament. I just think head to head, that's just going to be that's going to be one of the top matchups we see all year because everything that Michigan does well, I think Michigan does well. You can totally see Michigan State trying to take. And so I'll be curious. I'm imagining. I actually do have the schedule right in front of me. I know they play each other twice. Friday, January 30th, in the Breslin Center, and then to finish. How about that? How about to finish off the regular season on March 8th at? That's gonna be. It's very possible. I don't want to forget about
the last. Yeah, no, we can't. They played today. They won 1,000,000-4 against the Eastern Illinois team that shouldn't have. But how about this for the end of Michigan's schedule? February 17th at Purdue. First, they play Duke. I believe that's in Washington, D.C. Then you get Minnesota. Then you're at Illinois, you're at Iowa, Michigan State at home. That right there is the hell of a finishing kick. Like that might be the 6-game stretch you're going to find in college basketball season. So Michigan's going to go a long way here before they end up taking a loss. But that is to end the season right there for the Wolverines.
Oh, yeah, that's it's a tough stretch. I know Duke's got a tough one coming up here. They're in the midst of 3 teams that could be ranked there for Michigan. All right, let's get to our toast of the night. Who wants to kick us off here? Anybody got a toast of the night? Dauster, you got anything?
Yeah. I guess I'll toast first. I'll toast to Malika. He's a kid that like I mentioned, dealt with a lot of injuries. I think it was he broke his foot one, and then in the first game back, he broke the other foot or tore the ACL. I can't remember what it was when he was at Dayton. There was a stretch where he missed the season, came back, played 7 minutes, and then got injured for the rest of the season again. So, wasn't the easiest career that he had at Dayton, but he ended up at UConn, has accepted his role and thrived. 14 points, 9 assists, and might have been 10 points and 9 assists on another day, Mike.
Do that on the stretch. All right, what we will do here, again, if you are watching on the YouTube verse, please hit us in the comments. We'll try to get to some of your comments when the show goes final. In the meantime, we will say well. Hope everyone had a happy and healthy Thanksgiving as well as we had the holiday season. Basketball is going to be must watch. All right. We are going to end it. We're going to end it. So, wait, before we get out of here, Dauster, I did want to get your last thoughts here on what we have seen in Florida as well. Backcourt was a little bit improved here today against Providence, but it's. I still got some questions. But your thoughts on the performance against Providence?
Well, they put up 90. Xavier Lee had 17. I'm gonna redo my tonight. My toast tonight is Xavier Lee. People have been hard on him. He has 17 of his 20 in the second half. Florida got a big win they needed.
All right, good deal. We will say farewell. We will get you until the 68 after dark.